everyone, and welcome to lesson 13 of Conquering Algebra 2. Today we're going to be talking about two different concepts. First is going to be substitution, and then the second one is how do we find the area of a triangle when it is an isosceles triangle and they don't really give us the height. So let's get started. Substitution. So here's my first example, and what we have to remember is whenever we have two variables, we have to have at least two equations so we can solve each. But as long as I remember substitution, I can do that. And so in this case, we lucked out because our first equation already has a variable isolated. And so what I can do is I can take what x is equal to, and I can substitute that into my second equation right here at x. So let's go ahead and see what that's going to look like. Okay, so now that we have replaced x with y plus 5, which is what our first equation shows us, we see that now we only have one type of variable, and it is y. And since I only have one type of variable, I can solve for y and get just a normal number. So that's what we're going to do now. We're just going to solve for y. So we got 3y plus 15 plus 2y equals 5. Now we're going to add like terms, so that's going to be 5y, and I'm going to subtract this 15. So that equals negative 10 divided by 5, and y equals negative 2. Okay, so we found out what y is, but we're only halfway done. We still have to find out what x is. So I'm going to take this value and I'm going to plug it back into my first equation and solve for x. So x equals negative 2 plus 5. So x equals 3. Now that I know what x is and I know what y is, I write this as an ordered pair. So it's going to be 3, negative 2. So what we just found is whenever these two lines are graphed, they're going to intersect somewhere, and it's going to be at 3, negative 2. So we just found the intersection point. So let's do some more practice. In our next example, they don't have a variable isolated for us, so we're going to have to do a little bit more work before we can start substituting. And just my preference, I'm going to work with this first equation to get y by itself. Since there's no number attached to it, it's going to be a little bit easier because I won't have to divide an entire equation by something. So let's work with this and let's get y by itself. So I have two options. I can move the 3x and then divide by negative, or I can move the y and the 11. That's the one that I'm going to do. So plus y to both sides and minus 11 to both sides. So that's gone and that's gone, and we have 3x minus 11 equals y. Now we are ready for substitution. I'm going to rewrite this up here and then we'll start working on substitution. Okay, so now we're going to take this value and we're going to plug it in right here in place of y. So we have 2x plus 3, open parentheses, 3x minus 11, close parentheses, equals negative 11. Okay, and now we only have one type of variable, x, which means we can solve, and then we'll know what x equals. So let's distribute and solve. So 2x plus 9x minus 33 equals negative 11. We're going to add our like terms. So 11x minus 33 equals negative 11. Okay, and then we're going to add 33. So 11x equals 22. Divide by 11. So x equals 2, but we're only halfway done. We found out what x is, now we need to know what y is. So I'm going to take this value and I'm going to plug it in right here. So y equals 3 times 2 minus 11. So y equals 6 minus 11. Y equals negative 5. And now that we have our x and our y values, we're going to write our answer as an ordered pair. X always goes first, so 2, negative 5. And we're done. So now that we know how to solve for our system equations, there is a calculator program that we have that will solve this for us. So I'm going to go ahead and teach you guys how to do that also. Important thing to remember is as we do this in our calculator, both of our equations have to be set up in this format where x goes first, then y, equals sign, and then our constant. If it's not set up like this for both equations, then your calculator is going to give you the wrong answer, and it's not their fault. You set it up wrong. So now that it's set up like this, we're going to turn on our calculator. We're going to go to Programs, and the program is called because system equation. So you're going to hit Enter, and then you want to run the program, and the first screen that you're going to see is going to look like this. AX plus BY equals C. And what A, B, and C are looking for are these numbers right here. So in this case, for our first equation, the number for A, we don't have a number in front of X, so we know that it is 1. And then B is also 1, and C is 20. So I'm going to type that in, 1, 1, 20, and then I'm going to hit Enter. And then it is going to say dx plus ey equals f. They're talking about these three numbers. So d is going to be 5, e is 10, and f is 150. So 5, 10, 150. And then it's going to show me a screen and it's going to rewrite both of my equations. And so I'm going to double check and make sure I have that set up correctly. And then I'm going to hit Enter. And it says x equals 10, y equals 10. Again, this is not how I write my answer. I write it as an ordered pair. So 10, comma, 10, and we're done. The second concept in this lesson is finding the area of an isosceles triangle. And we know that our formula is area equals base times height divided by 2. We know that our base is 4, but we don't know what our height is. We know that the sides are 5, but we don't know the height. But since we know that this is an isosceles triangle and we have our two equal sides on top like this, we can use Pythagorean theorem to find this missing side. So I've split this triangle in half. These are equal halves now, they're symmetrical. So if my whole base is 4, that means each part is 2. And I've just made two right triangles. So I can use Pythagorean theorem knowing 2 and 5 to find my missing side, which happens to be my height. So our formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm going to replace a with 2 plus b squared equals 5 squared. Okay, so we have 4 plus b squared equals 25. We're going to subtract 4. So b equals the square root of 21. So I'm going to hold that number and I'm going to plug it in here into my formula. So area equals, okay, now we're looking at the area of this entire triangle, and our base is 4. And our height is the square root of 21 divided by 2. So I know that those reduce, this will be a 2, this will be 1. So our area equals 2 square root 21 centimeters squared. And that's it, we just found the area. All right, so let's go again. We have an isosceles triangle with our two congruent sides on top coming to a point. So I'm gonna split this in half and I'm gonna make two congruent triangles. So they are split in half. If my whole base is 4, that means each base is 2, and I don't know what my height is, but I can use Pythagorean theorem to find it. So we're gonna say a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A squared is 2, and c squared is 3. So we have 4 plus b squared equals 9. Subtract the 4, and then b is gonna equal the square root of 5. So our formula for area is base times height divided by 2, and I'm going to replace base with 4 and height with the square root of 5. Divided by 2, those reduce, and our area is 2 square root 5 meters squared, and we're done. All right, and that's it for lesson 13, finding system equations, solving for x and y when we have two equations, and then finding the area of an isosceles triangle. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to click the notification bell and to subscribe so that way you get all the updates as we add new videos. I'll see you guys in class.